Shadows on the wall always scared me as a child, not simply from me seeing them, but from the way the shadows seemed to writhe and contort, mimicking the movements of unseen creatures. I huddled deeper into the worn armchair, the worn velvet doing little to comfort me. My eyes, wide with a mixture of fear and morbid curiosity, were glued to the corner of the room. It was there, nestled in the deepest recesses of the shadows, that I'd first seen it, a shape, unmistakable, figure. At first, it was just a faint impression, a smudge against the darkness. But as the night wore on, it grew bolder, more defined. It was humanoid, that much was certain. Tall and slender, with impossibly long limbs that seemed to stretch and retract, defying the laws of physics. I tried to convince myself it was just a trick of the light, a figment of my overactive imagination. But the figure persisted, its presence growing more palpable with each passing hour. I could almost feel its gaze upon me, cold and penetrating, boring into my very soul. The silence was deafening, broken only by the mournful creaking of the old house. I held my breath, listening intently, straining to hear any sound that might betray the figure's presence. But there was nothing, just the eerie silence and the ever-present shadow in the corner. Fear, cold and clammy, began to grip my heart. I wanted to scream, to run, to escape the suffocating presence in the room. But my limbs felt heavy, leaden, refusing to obey my commands. I was paralyzed, trapped in the clutches of an unseen terror. Suddenly, the figure moved. It swayed slightly, as if swaying to an unseen rhythm. Then it lunged. I squeezed my eyes shut, bracing for the inevitable. But nothing happened. I slowly opened my eyes, heart pounding in my chest. The figure remained in the corner, its long, skeletal limbs still and silent. Relief washed over me, quickly replaced by a chilling dread. The figure had moved. It was no longer just a shadow, a figment of my imagination. It was real. I spent the rest of the night in a state of heightened awareness, my senses on high alert. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of leaves outside the window, sent shivers down my spine. I dared not move, afraid to attract the attention of the creature lurking in the shadows. As dawn approached, the figure began to recede, its form growing fainter and fainter until it finally vanished into the depths of the corner. Exhausted and traumatized, I sank into a fitful sleep, haunted by the chilling image of the figure and its unsettling movements. When I awoke, the sun was streaming through the window, casting a warm glow across the room. The shadow in the corner was gone. I convinced myself it had all been a dream, a product of my overactive imagination. But as I went about my day, a lingering unease clung to me. I kept glancing at the corner, expecting to see the figure reappear. And every time I heard a sudden noise, my heart would leap into my throat. That night, I returned to the room with a newfound trepidation. I armed myself with a heavy candlestick, its flickering flame casting a circle of light around me. I kept a watchful eye on the corner, my hand hovering over the candlestick, ready to use it as a weapon if necessary. The figure reappeared as the night deepened. It was more distinct this time, its features more clearly defined. I could see its gaunt face, its hollow eyes, its long, skeletal fingers. It moved with a chilling grace, its movements fluid and deliberate. Terror gripped me once again. I raised the candlestick, its flame flickering erratically in the sudden surge of adrenaline. The figure seemed to react to the light, its movements becoming more agitated. It began to sway violently, its long limbs flailing wildly. Then it lunged. This time it was different. The figure did not stop at the edge of the shadows. It emerged from the corner, its long skeletal fingers reaching out towards me. I screamed, dropping the candlestick and scrambling backwards, crashing into the wall. The figure lunged again, its icy breath washing over me. I squeezed my eyes shut, bracing for the impact. But instead of the expected pain, I felt a sudden gust of icy wind. When I finally dared to open my eyes, the figure was gone. It had vanished as suddenly as it had appeared, leaving behind only the lingering scent of ozone and the faint echo of my own terrified scream. Shaken to the core, I fled the room, leaving the door wide open behind me. I spent the rest of the night huddled in the living room, the sound of my own frantic heartbeat echoing in my ears. The next morning, I decided to confront the figure. I armed myself with a crucifix, believing it might offer some protection against whatever evil lurked within the shadows. I returned to the room, my heart pounding in my chest. The figure was waiting for me, its long, skeletal fingers twitching impatiently. I raised the crucifix, reciting a prayer under my breath. The figure reacted violently, recoiling as if in pain. It let out a chilling wail, a sound that seemed to seep into my very bones. The figure began to writhe, its body contorting in unnatural ways. Its limbs elongated and twisted, its form growing more and more grotesque. Then, with a final, shuddering gasp, it imploded, collapsing into a heap of dust. The dust swirled around the room, then settled slowly onto the floor. When it finally settled, the figure was gone, vanished without a trace. I stood there, trembling, unable to believe my eyes. The terror that had haunted me for so long was finally gone. But as I turned to leave the room, I noticed something strange. A small, obsidian object lay nestled amongst the dust, glinting ominously in the sunlight. It was a small, intricately carved stone, shaped like a human heart. I picked it up, my fingers tracing the intricate carvings. As I touched it, a wave of dizziness washed over me. Images flashed through my mind, glimpses of a forgotten past, of a tragic love affair, of a heart broken beyond repair. The stone, I realized with a chilling certainty, was the source of the evil. It was the heart of a broken soul, consumed by a dark and vengeful spirit. I knew I had to destroy it. I took the stone outside and hurled it into the depths of the nearby forest. As it vanished from sight, I felt a sense of relief wash over me. The evil was finally gone. But the experience had left its mark on me. I could never again look at shadows in the same way. I was always aware of their presence, their potential to conceal the unseen, the unknown. And every now and then, I would catch a glimpse of something in the periphery of my vision, a fleeting shadow that seemed to move on its own. But I would never let it frighten me again. I had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. The shadow in the corner, I knew, was gone forever, but the memory of its chilling presence would forever haunt my dreams.